Tools caters to 3 different market sectors, and it happens to be the residential systems integrators, the Pro AV integrators, and commercial security integrators. The sectors are very similar, and it's interesting because there are different trade associations. We're all feel like we're siloed, and we belong to this group or we belong to this group. But the reality is, we're all low voltage systems contractors. We all do the same thing. Historically, when you want to grow and you grow your top line, what does it take? It just means adding more people, right? You add a salesperson, and then when the salesperson starts selling stuff, you add an engineer, and you add a couple of project managers, and you add some technicians, and you just grow the top line as you grow your team, all right? And it's simple formula, right? But then what happens when we get us into a situation like we're in now, where it's hard to come by skilled labor that have the particular skills that you need to grow your organization, right? Growth comes to a standstill. And when that happens, we need to turn to some other solution. So what is that solution? And the solution is process improvement or tools improvement, right? So how do we continue to grow with the same footprint? By footprint, I mean facilities, vehicles, people, all right? So if you have this footprint, it's pretty fixed because you're unable to add talent when you need it. You have to figure out a way to continue your growth and, frankly, to accommodate the demand. We're all sitting here today knowing that, business is off the charts and there's just more and more demand coming at us, right? And we want to be able to accommodate it, but we're in a position where we might not be able to because we can't hire more people to make that happen. So with process improvement, we can continue that growth line just with the same set of people. How do we figure out how we can improve or refine, either develop or refine our processes so that we can do more work with the same amount of folks? And the benefits of doing that are increased throughput, right? We get more work done with the same number of people. They're more efficient. It eliminates the need to hire more folks. And as a result, it obviously drops more dollars to the bottom line. If we were able to increase our top line by 10% without changing our bottom line, without changing our overhead, all those dollars drop to the bottom line. And all of a sudden, we're considerably more profitable, right? There's some added benefits of going through this process. One is, when you start to refine your processes, you tend to document them, right? So you end up with a policy and procedures manual where everything is well documented. People know what to do. They know how to do it. They know if they're succeeding and if they're not. And you have a way of grading them on their success. So it eliminates questions that occur on a day-to-day basis because everything then becomes more documented, right? And it improves morale because people in a capitalist society get real gratification from being productive. And when they're more productive, when they know they're getting more work done and there's more revenues coming from this core group of people, it means they're getting more work done in a day individually, and they're feeling better about the team and what they're accomplishing, right? So employee morale is a big part of that. In my integrator days, there were 2 things that we did that I considered to be really impactful. So the scenario was, this is back in 2007, 2008, things were really good, right? We were unable to keep up with our proposals. It was taking 2 to 3 weeks to get a basic proposal out, over 6 weeks for larger proposals, and our close rate was probably under 50% because we were really slow on the turnaround, and of course the client thought, well, if they can't even get a proposal to me, how are they going to be on the delivery side, right? And plus we were pricing things really high because frankly we could, and it was a problem, and we had to solve it. So what we came up with is a new procedure that required that we sign a design services agreement with every client and collect a design retainer. And what did that do? It did a number of things. It eliminated the competition. Once someone signs something and gives you money, they're not shopping you anymore. They've made a decision. They're moving on to the next decision on the project, right? So it eliminates the competition. It allowed us to weed out the wrong type of client, those that didn't value our services and weren't willing to pay for it up front. So we got rid of them without wasting our time for weeks or months. We reduced the number of proposals we had to generate, so we were able to keep up. We turned proposals around within days as opposed to weeks. Our close ratio went to like 90% because we had them. They were captive, right? They gave us money already. They signed an agreement already. We were part of the design team with them, right, and working with their team all day, every day. It was really hard to remove us from this project. And so almost all signed a bigger contract with us when that time came. This was one of the outcomes that we really didn't think through, but was awesome. Our sales expense to develop the designs became a profit center. We replaced a cost center with a profit center in terms of our engineering team and all the drawings they were doing on the front end, which was just an added bonus. So in the end, we grew sales by 20% with the same team, and all that dropped to the bottom line. So a win-win-win, and a good example of process improvement. And I'll give you one other example, which has to do with labor utilization. So the scenario here, this is actually further back in my career, where we were pretty small, and we were looking to add some techs. We also had an issue, I'll be honest, of we weren't very profitable. We were maybe making 4, 5, 6%. It wasn't meeting my standards. And so our labor utilization rate was somewhere around 65%, which is the industry standard. It's, what happens is the guys come into the office, they have some coffee, they chit-chat a little bit, they load up their vans, and then they sit in traffic, and you're paying them for all this time, and then finally they get to the job site, and they work 5.5, maybe 6 hours on a good day, and then they sit in traffic again, they drop the vans off, and they go home. It's not a good model. It's not a profitable model on the labor side. So we wanted to figure out a way to fix it. So what we did is it wasn't a hard decision or take a lot of creativity. We just said, all right, let's make it simple. The guys take your vans home. And then they start clocking their time when they get to the job site in the morning, and they stop when they leave, and we get 8 hours out of them every day. And what happened? Our labor utilization jumped up to 87%. The only time that wasn't billable was PTO, holidays, and our biweekly safety meetings and / tech meetings, right? All the other time was billable. And so it had the effect of adding the equivalent of a whole nother team of technicians. Our labor productivity increased over 20% without adding staff. And it was, again, a win-win-win. So if we combine these, process improvement, which looks like a kind of a tedious process that gets refined down to a more elegant and streamlined process and creates greater throughput, and you combine that with tools improvement, which is a manual process or possibly just a lot of different solutions to get you through the day and all the different departments, right, into a single end-to-end solution that eliminates all the duplicate data entry and chance of human error and that sort of thing, and streamlines the process from an automated standpoint and gets you more throughput. You really have game-changing results with better processes, better tools, and you're going to see your bottom line shoot up in ways that you've never seen before. For those guys that are more numbers-oriented, I want to share what that might look like on your P&L. So let's just say, I just kind of picked a middle-of-the-road number, but you're doing $12 million in revenues with 65% cost of goods. That leaves your gross profit or gross margin at 35%. If your overhead's $3.6 million in that scenario, or 30%, you end up with $600,000 in profit. Okay. If you make these improvements to your processes and tools, and you can increase your top line by 25%, which is a very realistic number, by the way, without changing your footprint in terms of your facilities vehicles, people, in other words, your overhead stays static, look what it does to the bottom line. It adds $1 million to the bottom line, which is almost a 3x increase, right? So just tremendous results when you're able to make those changes in your organization. You know, I mentioned tools improvement, and I don't want to make it sound like, you know, D-Tools is your only option. There's a lot of good options now in the industry. It's become a pretty crowded space for software and productivity tools, and it's if you're still on, you know, the Excel program, I encourage you to look at something that's more specific to your industry.